Over the past year or so now, TSLY has become extremely popular due to its incredibly high distribution yield of over 75%, and also because its underlying asset is, of course, Tesla stock, which is one of the most popular electric car companies in the world. And in early 2023, both Tesla and TSLY were pumping out double-digit returns within the first few months of the year, which helped bring a lot more attention to TSLY and other yield max ETFs. But I think as of recently, TSLY has made itself a good example of why it's important to diversify your high yield income ETFs. Just a few days ago, it fell over 11% in one day, with Tesla stock dropping over 12% that same day as well. Its 6-month total return is a negative 31%, and that's including dividends, and an all-time total return of a negative 15.4%. Meaning if you were to have invested $10,000 at inception a little over a year ago, you'd have about $8,500 today. So needless to say, both Tesla and TSLY have not been performing near as well as we would like. So now this kind of begs the question of whether or not it's worth it to hold on to TSLY going forward and into the next couple of years. The tricky part about owning funds like TSLY is that because of its covered call option strategy and the fact that it doesn't actually hold real shares of Tesla, the upside is limited when Tesla rallies. Meaning as a TSLY investor, your gains will always be lower than Tesla stock's gains, especially when it's climbing high. And we saw this exact thing happen last year when Tesla rose about 90% in just a few months, with TSLY lagging behind, even including dividends, by about 20 points. Which some of us might think is fine because it's still paying those massive monthly dividends on a regular basis. So even though it trails behind Tesla when it's rallying, it's not that big of a deal because of those huge dividends that we're getting paid. But the big problem though is that when Tesla stock falls 10 to 15%, just like we've seen recently, TSLY nearly mirrors those negative returns. In other words, it drops just as much. And this is one of the main reasons why TSLY has a much lower one-year return compared to the return of Tesla. So yes, the monthly distributions have been really nice over the past year. They've recently been averaging around 60 cents per share, which again is kind of unheard of among typical dividend-paying ETFs. But even with these huge payouts, the total return is still in the negative, leaving a lot of TSLY investors, including myself, holding the bag. So speaking of holding the bag, let's now check on my current position in TSLY and see where it's at today. So the first thing that comes to mind when looking at this is I made the big mistake of not diversifying and spreading out the capital into multiple yield max ETFs, or really any high income ETF. So that was a pretty big mistake on my end. I kind of just hand-picked TSLY and rode it all the way down, and I haven't been averaging down either. The last time I bought shares was a few months ago. But as you can see, I'm currently down almost 40% or at a $500 loss on this position. My initial investment was about $1,300, but it's now down to just below $800. But this is, of course, not including the dividend payments that I've gotten since I bought in about 7 months ago. Each dividend payment has been around $50 a month. So that monthly income has helped a lot. It's been nice getting those payments, but I'm definitely still at a negative return. With all that being said, I am planning on selling out of this position, and one of the main reasons why is honestly because of all the volatility and risk that it brings, since it is linked to Tesla stock, which I'm also not very bullish on, at least in the short term. But I won't be selling it all at once. I'm gonna wait until the next dividend payment before I start selling shares, and I'll most likely be spreading the capital into other yield max funds like APLY, NVDY, or FBY, and I won't have any more than about $2,000 total among all these different funds. So like I said before, if you as a TSLY investor believe that Tesla will recover in the short term and start producing those double-digit gains again, then it might be worth it to hold TSLY and continue to collect those monthly dividends. But let me know in the comments below whether or not you're continuing to hold TSLY and kind of the reason behind it, and I'll see you guys next time.